pivotal role in advancing rural development initiatives and overseeing regional services at the university. His impactful career journey includes serving as the Division Director for Utah's Workforce Development Division, administering key programs to fuel the state's economy and workforce. Lisonbee's academic pursuits led to the completion of a Master of Business Administration from SUU. He received the Rural Champion Award from the Rural Utah Chamber Coalition in 2022. The Transformational Leadership Award from SUU Community and Professional Development to the same year, and the Board of Trustees Award of Excellence from SUU in 2022. I want to tell you how I met Stephen, and that was through our outreach for URSTA, through the Utah Association of Counties, and then at the One Utah Summit that is put on every year. We met and we chatted, and we realized that we have such a great similar vision. And I explained about URSTA and the things that we're trying to do and the things that we're trying to achieve. And I really value Stephen's support in those ideas. And the last thing that I want to say is, more than anything, with an English phrase, he's just a really nice bloke. So I'd like to introduce Stephen Lisonbee.
Can I take this off?
There you go. I think she should write my bio. That was really good. So I asked Tracy, I said, how was the elections? You know, you're now president. She goes, oh, there was none. It just happens, you know, for affirmation. It's like, oh, that's no fun. You gotta give me something to play with, you know? And so anyway, she's an incredible person. You know, we get to do two things as adults that are, you know, really special. One is the moment we realize the power of convening and bringing people together. It's always a moment as adults when we realize that we can do that. We're trained to do that by being parents. And we recognize that power that we do in our professions. This is really cool. And then the second thing is when we realize that we can use that convening power to make others' lives better, right? And that's another moment all of us as adults go through. It's this aha moment of, I can now improve the lives of people around me and by bringing them together and helping them be their best selves. And I think that's what URSTA is, right? Is the convening power of coming together and everybody helping each other be better at whatever your area of emphasis or focus or priority is. And so congratulations to you for just being you, right? It's very impressive. And I have to share, every time I get a chance to come to Canada, I love it. I came a little early this morning. I got to wish happy birthday to a dear friend of mine that lives here in town, and then drive over to this center, which is exciting for me to see because I remember when it wasn't here, and the building was just a thought and an idea, and look at it now, right? So it's always fun to be here. So as introduction, Senior Advisor to the Governor for Rural Affairs and Associate Vice President to at Southern Utah University for Regional Affairs. And I really want to share today 3 concepts that have become really important for me. And I'm only going to really dive into one of the 3. So the first is the leadership approach. And I'm not going to talk about this very long, but there's a very clear difference in leadership approach. You can be transactional, where you're simply exchanging, and it may be benefiting or may not, but it's transactional. And then there's transformational. And that's when you put your gears together and you're working together. And there's a very clear difference on the impact. Transformational only happens by getting into the weeds, being proximate to the situation, and building together. Transactional can happen through an email, a text, a phone call, and you're not building together. And it's important for me, and I believe for all of us, to be transformational leaders. It means you have to commit the time to understand the details, be a part of the process and the journey, and you get better results. So that's the first thing that's important to me. And all this kind of builds up to the third. So the second is my attitude. You can choose how you approach every problem. And we got a lot of problems, right? Some people call them opportunities, right, or situations, but it's got to be dealt with, right? And we get to choose how we approach that. And so my approach, even though I've never been an entrepreneur, I've never started a business, but I choose to approach these opportunities or challenges or situations as an entrepreneur. And what that means for me is every opportunity is a chance to shine. Every startup, right, is a chance to find a new way to serve somebody. So I often tell my departments when something new is coming at them, I say to them, you've got to go into startup mode, okay? And when you go into startup mode, you really get into the details a lot more. You want to find a winning way to move forward. And so then you look at everything as an opportunity, right? That's what entrepreneurs do. This is an opportunity, right? There's a problem to be fixed, so it's an opportunity to shine. So you view it that way. You find ways to take action and to do something, and then that ultimately results in an impact. And so that I share these two things, right? The leadership approach and my entrepreneurial attitude, because those two will kind of be a baseline for this next piece I want to talk about here. So the next is, you can laugh. Somebody told me this morning, I don't believe in a balanced life. I'm laughing because I'm like, that's what I'm talking about today. So I didn't want to disagree with them, but I'm like, I disagree with you. So the third area is the art of a work-life balance. And, this last week, I have worked till about midnight every night. It's just where I'm at right now with workload. It's not normal. I can't sustain that. But what I do is I make sure that, from 6 to 8, 8:30, I'm at home, I'm present. Then when things wind down, and I still have an 8-year-old at home, and he's in bed, and things are closed out, I get back to work, right? But things are busy. I think all of us would say we're busy people, right? And so how do you manage being busy? And it's not like you're only busy at work. It feels like when you're busy at work, you're usually busy at non-work stuff. It always comes at the same time. I feel like every minute at home is extremely busy. You got a daughter, a sophomore in high school, in 2 sports, and she thinks she wants to date, and she's got this guy following around. I'm watching that like a hawk. And I got an 8-year-old that's got to be careful about too much time on the iPad because he turns into a monster, right? Like, it's just, a lot of things. I got a son serving the LDS mission and keeping track of what's going on with him. And we were on a video call last night for an hour and a half, making sure he's good. I got a daughter just started her career in Connecticut as her husband begins medical school, and there's nightly calls every night about that situation, and she's learning how to kind of train her boss. Have you ever had that before? You have to train your boss, right? I'm coaching my daughter how to train her boss into being the right kind of boss, So it's busy. Life's busy, right? And so I have these 3 guiding principles about the art of work-life balance that are important to me. I'll share them with you, and then I'm going to dive into the make friends at work, because that's the most fun. So, really for me, whenever I get a chance to mentor or spend time with somebody, I always make sure to interact with them at some point and just say, listen, are you maintaining great relationships during the day? During the day, are you making friends at work? It's about relationships. You can't really do much without those, right? And then number two, this is important. I just hired a few new people on my team at the university, and I said, are you being double check? Okay, there we go. We're back. Right. So when you leave work, are you present at home? Are you making those strong connections you need? Because the reason this becomes so important, and I don't know, I'm going to share what I think is an insight, and I'm going to challenge you to think about it. But when somebody isn't performing at work, or there's some problems at work, I've almost entirely been able to pinpoint it down to the fact that something at home is not going well, right? When somebody who's been a champion and had great success at work, but they're no longer performing at that same level, I can almost always, in conversation with them, realize that it's because something's not going well at home, right? And so, I feel like I have better employees when they're better connected away from work to the things that matter to them. And home can be a lot of things, right? Home can be, a sporting team that takes every minute of your evening, and that's your family, right? It can be, a hobby. It can be a location where you go and sleep, right? I mean, whatever it is, but that becomes really important. If you think that things aren't going well there, you're typically not doing so good at work, right? So be present at home, whatever that home looks like to you, and make connections. And the third is, you've got to recover, right? I have this thing where my wife and I travel with our family, when the kids go to bed, we go to bed, right? Because guess what happens? Those kids wake up before I wake up, right? And they're ready to go, and the best time to enjoy the vacation, early in the morning, let's get out, let's go. And so it just has the third piece that says, when the family goes to bed, I go to bed. And if I don't do that for too many nights in a row, usually something gets off kilter, right? My body needs to recover. I need to rest, right? And so these three things become really important to me in that work-life balance, right? It's making friends during the day, be present at home, and get rest at night. And so those are important to me, but let's have some fun for a minute. Not a minute, more like 20 minutes. You're stuck. Let's talk about making friends during the day. It all starts with yourself, okay? If you're ever in those conversations with somebody and they're like, man, that person's just not nice to me, or that person, it's always that person, and I don't get along, or that person, is making fun of me, or that person just making things complicated. You just have to start with you, right? And it's yourself. You got to find a way to be your best self. Okay? So during the day, in order if making friends during the day, managing relationships is really important to you, then you have to start with yourself. And you've got to agree to a few things about how you're going to behave as a person. So I want to share a few of those. But the reason why that's so important is because what you do with yourself is going to directly impact your team. Okay? And so you want to be your best self, so you can interact with your team the way you want to interact, because you're stuck together, and it's an infinity sign intentionally. You're never going to get away from each other. It's just the type of person you are will impact your team. And if you don't like your team, or you want to change your team, then change yourself and let that slowly influence, because you're connected together. And however that communication happens, it's just going to keep going. So I want to share a few things about yourself that can be that I have prioritized I'm hoping if I come over here, maybe it's a better sound. So, relative to yourself, there's 4 things that are really important for me to do to make sure I'm in the best spot to be able to make friends through the day, maintain relationships, and be a good team member. And so the first is, you have to show up. Okay, isn't it just so simple? You gotta show up. If you don't show up, you're not even in the game. Okay? And we make jokes all the time about, getting assignments to team members that aren't at the meeting, right? But the first thing is you have to show up. You don't show up, you don't get to cheer, you don't get to work, you don't get to have an opinion. And so you gotta show up. And that's the first thing for me, is showing up and being present every day. The second is do your job. How many times do you have coworkers, team members, and they're really good at your job, struggle with their job, right? It's like, well, I got my job, go do your job. There's just, so many things around this. And people will say, well, I like to get promoted. I like to have career opportunities, and how do I do that? And you know what I say? Be really, really, really good at your job. Because if you're really, really good at your job, your boss is going to be like, that person's important. And team members are going to be like, that person's important. And you're going to be, your value on the team is going to increase. And what's so nice about that is, that's your job, that's your space, right? You don't have to compete. Just do your job. So I always tell myself, be careful, quit doing someone else's job, and make sure I do my job. Because the other part is, if nobody does my job, ends up kind of creating problems, right? Because your boss is like, hey, nobody's doing your job. And then your team member's winning because their team member's doing their job and you're doing their job. Now the team member's like, well, I got double credit and you got none, right? So you got to do your job. So then the third is, this is so important, you got to fight for what's right. How many times you go to a team meeting or you're just in a team environment and you got that one coworker that just wants to fight for everything. And it gets a little annoying, right? You're just like, all right, yes, we would love all of these 10 employee benefits. Yes, we would love all this new infrastructure. Or yes, we would love all of these new things in the office. But we know it's not all realistic. Like, pick what's really worth fighting for. Because it's the idea as a professional of a crying wolf. You don't want to be that professional that cries wolf on everything. You want to be that professional that is known for picking the right things to fight for, and you can be focused on getting those things done. So for me, that's the other thing. I can spend all day fighting for a lot of things, but I have to pick what's the most important thing to fight for right now. So last thing here on myself is, I think it's really important to recognize that striking out is okay. Getting something wrong or missing the mark is okay. But it's not okay if it happens without me trying to do the right thing. Or trying. So for me, tell my kids, as long as you're up there and you're swinging at the bat and you're giving your all and you strike out, the team's going to be just fine and cheer you on when you come back to the dugout. But if you sit up at the plate and every time a ball comes by, you just let it swing on you, come on by, you don't swing at it, like, that doesn't make sense, right? So give it a try, right? You're going to strike out, swing, right? So those are 4 things that are really important for me. And as I share those things, I'm not recommending that they're your things, but what I'm recommending is you find those things, and you find those whatever it is that's important for you, to be your best self, know what those are and let them be your guiding principles. And it's really important to do that because we're going to get into this other side now about your team. And if you don't know who you are and how you fit into that team, it gets to be a really complicated and confusing and frustrating career. You find yourself moving jobs frequently. You find yourself missing opportunities of promotion or growth opportunities. Things don't work well in your overall career when you start working with others if you don't have that first things established. So let's talk about a few things that I think are important on how I interact with myself and my team. So the first thing is, be kind. You can solve so many things at work by just being kind. And you can be completely at odds with somebody on their opinion, their decision, or their approach or attitude. But being kind will save a lot of grief for you and the team. There are so many times when decisions are made you have no ability to change. There are times when coworkers or partners are interacting with you in ways that you don't deserve to be interacting with. And so you can choose how you react. But that choice will create more. It will create the next chapter. So what do you want that next chapter to be? So I've always found just be kind. And that's the type of team member I want to be known as. I'm a nice guy. I'll be honest with you, but I'm nice about it. Okay? It's like my wife this morning. She tells me, I kind of need a little feedback in a second. This is the first time I've worn this belt buckle. Okay? I've been looking forward to wearing this belt buckle for a while. I got this belt buckle as a gift. I don't normally wear belt buckles. Okay? I'm not a belt buckle type of guy. I have a lot. I have 4 or 5 belt buckles, and they'll look nice. They'll look good to me. But I've never really worn them. So I put the belt buckle on this morning, and I was like, God, I really like that. I think that looks really good. And my wife's like, I'm not buying it. It doesn't look good. And I was like, you know what, Pam? It doesn't matter what you think. Just be kind to me, you know? Like, I'm 46. There's not a lot going on good here. It's just like, I'm excited to wear the belt buckle. Just be kind. You know, I tell her that. And she's like, fine. So we do I? Thank you. Work it. Thank you. So the saga continues. We go to our family text thread about this. And so I started because, you know, I'm looking for a little kindness in the family. So I put it out there. And I do a little picture and a selfie. I've never done this in my life. You can laugh. You know, I looked in the mirror, and I held my phone like this, and I took a picture of myself in the mirror, and I thought, I feel like I'm an Instagram person. This is so awkward. And I took a picture. I've never done this in my life. I take a picture, and I crop it, right? And I send a picture of me and Zoom with the belt buckle to the family text thread. I said, hey, I wore the belt buckle. What do you think? And Pam, being my lovely wife, she's like, you know, I'm not buying it, here's my opinions. And my son-in-law, who's a city slicker boy, right, he writes back, he's like, that looks dope, you look great. He's being kind, and I'm like, this son-in-law's getting all sorts of check marks, right? And then my daughter pipes in, yeah, that looks great, and, you know, and it looks really good with the black shirt, and, you know, and anyways, so they were super kind to me. It's just a little fun, but, you know, Pam could have just been kind to me. I'm her team member. I'm just asking for a little love.
Yeah, Pam, how are you?
You know, so anyway, so I want to be the one that you say, how does the belt buckle look? It's like, how do you think it looks? You know, you like it, I like it. If you like it, I like it. That's the team member you want to be, right?
Yeah.
You know, and so don't be the jerk, right? Okay. So the second is, think about people as people, not objects. There's a whole lesson to be taught here, right? It's the idea that, you know, Camille Johnson and I, raise your hand, Camille. Everybody know Camille. She's a local legend. She just we stole her. She's on the GUPS team now. She ran tourism here in the county, and I texted her, I'm like, I'm coming to town. And she's like, maybe I'll stop in. So she doesn't have a badge, but be nice to her, be kind. She didn't pay her to be here. She's my guest. People not objects. So listen, Camille and I are team members, and she's got goals she's working on. And she's going to go work her guts out to get those goals accomplished, which means she's going to get attention from my boss on working on those goals. And my boss is going to be like, oh, Camille, I like your goals. Let's put some money and energy and effort towards your goals. Well, I could sit over here and be like, oh, I wanted the money, effort, and attention. And Camille just got it. I'm going to go sabotage Camille. Because the less she's able to get time and attention, the more I can get. Because I'm thinking about her as an object. She's in the way of my success. She's a barrier to what I want to get. Okay? Or guess what I can do? I can say, man, boss, I like Camille's idea too. In fact, I see a way for my idea and Camille's idea to be partnered up. And let's do our idea together, right? And Camille knows this. That's what we're doing, right? We find a way to see each other's people, and I want to help her accomplish what she's doing. And by helping her, she's going to in turn help me. In fact, we're doing that right now. I've got her taking lead on a project that's kind of a little bit of workload. But she's doing it, and it's going to help her, and it's going to help me, right? We see each other's people, we're helping each other get where we need to go. So, the third one is inspire. Goes back to this kind thing we were talking about for a minute. You got coworkers that come to you, and because you've done all these things, right? Because you put yourself in a position, people are going to now start coming to you. And they're going to want to go on a walk, go get a drink, you're going to hang out. And then they're going to start confiding in you about what's important to them, where they want to go. And they're going to say, I'd really love to do this project. It's a dream of mine to create this organization that pulls partners together in urban and rural Utah, talk about transportation. I guess it's a really cool idea. And you can be that person that says, Lane, you can't get that done. That's bigger than your pay grade. I don't think that you're going to get, nobody's going to like that idea. You can be that person. Or you can be the person that says, you know what? That's huge. Man, that's like you changing the world. Wow. Oh, whoa. What if you did do that? What if you did make that happen? Wow. Man, let me know how I can help you. You're going to need a team. This is a big deal. But go for it. That's what you care about. You leave that person inspired. Be that type of person on the team. Inspire, right? It's like the basic brainstorming idea. It takes, you're in a team, in a room as a team, and you're brainstorming. And what they say, it's like, you got to get 10 ideas on the whiteboard before any good idea starts happening. So nobody dares share the first 10. Because you never got any good ideas? I don't know. So I have friends that have a change the world idea once a week. And guess what I do? Go get it. And guess what? Most of the change the world ideas I never hear about again. But 1 out of 10, they do. Right? And you want to be, that type of person that helps them move that forward. Okay? So, the last one. This is a good one. You got to ask yourself, if I say this, if I do this, is it going to help? Because if it's not, maybe you take a moment and pause and you just put it in the pocket. Right? It's really delicate and has to be on the fly to some degree. But you have to be self-aware enough to recognize that if you're in that team meeting and you're talking through things, and you're aching this, I want to talk. think about what you're going to say. Is it going to help the team? Is it going to help the team member? Is it going to help your boss? If it's not going to help, maybe just put that in the pocket. Okay? Not to say that your idea or your thought or your feedback isn't important, but is the timing right? Is the environment right? Is the person in a spot that they'll even hear it? Okay? And so, be careful about wanting to help for the wrong reasons, right? And think about, is this going to really help them and the team? Okay? And it changes your mindset on your actions, right? And everybody has this. Everybody's done this. Somebody does something to you on email or a text or team, and you run conspiracy theory in your head. You're like, oh, I have the response. I know what I'm going to say. And you type the email or you type the text, or you get ready for the team meeting and you're like, I'm going to say this, and then you hit delete, right? That's what I'm talking about, right? It's the play it out in your head, that's what you need to do, but hit delete before you hit send, okay? Because it may not really help. So, as I look at this model, this is important for me. I need to make sure that I am in the right spot to be a good team member. So that means for me, I'm showing up, I'm doing my job, I fight for what's right, I strike out swinging, I'm working. And then as a team member, I'm kind, it's people first, I inspire them, and I make sure I'm helping when I interact with them. And I find that if we do that, you're going to make friends in the day, right? In the end of your career, I just went to retirement for somebody. I was her boss for about 6 years. Went to retirement last week. The room's this size. It was packed. It was packed. Hugs, a little bit of tears, lots of smiles. She'd spent 30 years of her career making friends. She had, through that process, done these things and put herself in a position of influence. She got to a director position. She was cultivating the next generation of leaders. But at the end of her career, she walks away out the door. She's walking out the door with friends and memories of good things and all the great things that she's gotten done because she took the approach of these types of principles that make the difference in the day. So I know that this is the type of group that does everything we just talked about, because that's why you're here. I was watching for a half hour, your interactions, the good vibes here. I just appreciate you letting me take time to be able to remind myself of why these are so important for me. I get so busy, I get caught up in the bureaucracy of the job. Sometimes I don't take a step back and remind myself how important these are. And so when I get to share this with you today, it's a professional development opportunity for myself to remember these are important for me. So enjoy the rest of your rodeo and your experience. Appreciate your time today. Thank you.